Hi everyone. Last night I was in a Ustream watching Journal Artista create a fantastic art journal, and the discussion in the chat turned to ink. And someone, Rita, I think it was you, mentioned, gee whiz, someone ought to do a tutorial about ink, so I'm going to try and do that. Like most scrapbookers, I am somewhat of a collector. I have a lot of different inks, and when I'm thinking about, different types of inks, aside from the ones I just like to have on hand, I think about, what do I want them to do? The type of ink that I started out with, this may be familiar to a lot of you. This is a classic Stampin' Pad from Stampin' Up. It's a water-based dye ink. The attraction with this comes in a lot of coordinating colors. You can get paper, you can get ribbon, you can get ink. But it dries super fast. And the color is pretty true. Now that's a little bit muddy because I moved my stamp, but that's my mistake, not the ink's mistake. I just cleaned my stamp. So that is dye ink. That is dry. It is not, just that quick. Probably the thing I use colored ink, the most I use colored inks, I will go to a water-based dye ink for convenience sake. They also have craft pads. They call them craft pads, but really they're pigment ink pads. And what's the big attraction with pigment ink? The big attraction is that it doesn't dry right away. The colors are very true. And you can emboss with it. If you look on my stamp, I've just inked that up. I don't know if you can tell, but there's a lot of bubbles. You have to be careful when you're stamping because it's very easy to shift. Great for things you want to have that look older. One of the first craft pads that I ever got from Stampin' Up! Was a white one. With pigment ink, you can go on. You can stamp on a transparency. It doesn't work as well as, say, using StazOn, which is a solvent ink, and it's kind of meant for that purpose. When I first started out, and I still use StazOn quite a bit, I just mentioned it. StazOn is a solvent ink pad. So what's so great about this? You can stamp on anything with this. Plastic, metal, glass, ceramic, transparency, cardstock. I think it does the other things besides paper very, very well. It's not my go-to choice for stamping on paper if I want to say a black image. It's not bad, it's just not my favorite. Can you see that? Let's see. Get this out of the way. Lift it up. So there's our StazOn butterfly. Not bad. Captures the detail quite well. That I like about it. If I am going to stamp something and I want it to capture, if I have a very detailed stamp and I want it to be all of those details and I would just want it to be black, I go for archival ink every time. It's acid-free, fade-resistant, it's waterproof, it's smear-proof. It's the best black that I've found. So I'll put this one, sorry I keep going out of camera, right next to the StazOn one, so you can see the difference in the color quality. These pads are a little more expensive, largely because of the size of them. I've bought one. That's all I've ever had to buy. I've been stamping 3-4 years now. Look how crisp that is, this guy. Gotta give it like an extra set, but that is, practically dry. The StazOn is dry, it's not as true. So if I have a black image, I'm going archival ink every time. Okay, if I'm going to color with my Copics, I go for a Memento. This is fade resistant dye ink. It's the only ink that I have found that does not smear once you apply the Copic alcohol markers to it. The pads are inexpensive. I only have a black and a brown. It comes in, just like StazOn, it comes in every color of the rainbow. I have not found that I have needed more than that. Color's very true. I really like Memento ink a lot. And I like that I can color with it. And I'll do that in just a few minutes when we get through the rest of them. Versamark ink. Just want to talk about that for a second. Versamark is a watermark stamp pad. Mine's pretty well loved. Basically, it's used for embossing. But what you can do is create a translucent image on, say, cardstock. Say you want just a very faint image on your cardstock that happens to be colored, and you have a stamp that you like. You can go over the background and leave it as is. I usually go over it with clear embossing powder, but if I want it to be more subtle, I leave it alone. Versamark, embosser's choice. Okay, we only have 3 more. Probably my all-time favorite, most versatile ink is Distress ink. This happens to be my favorite color. It's weathered wood. I'm not going to stamp on the paper to show you, because what I like about this ink is its ability to have me do other projects. I made this tag by taking different colors of Distress ink in a direct-to-paper kind of fashion. I plopped it all over my craft sheet and I misted it with water. And then I dragged this shipping tag through it, and I picked up all these different colors. The greens, the blues, little purples. I even stamped these words that say Happy Everything in Distress ink on the bottom. Just a really nice effect. This happens to be one of my most favorite tags that I've ever made. It is clear embossed on the top. A big thank you to Jennifer McGuire for doing a tutorial on this technique. It's one I've done many times. Love Distress ink for that. You can do so much with this ink, and what's great about it is it doesn't dry. Doesn't take as long to dry as pigment ink does, but it takes a little bit longer than dye ink. And that little bit longer is perfect for you to get your embossing together. I'm running long on time, so I'm just going to talk about these and not show you. Sukaniko does a line of Brilliance inks, and these are, I will say, fairly fast drying. They're pigment inks. I like them because I went through a metallic phase, and I have a butterfly that I stamped over here. It's copper. Gives a really great effect. I like the price. You know, I got this pack for, I think, 10 bucks, 4 different colors, and I've had it for almost 5 years. Very, very versatile. They also put out something called Versa Magic. Versa Magic is one of their lines, and it's a multi-service chalk ink. Now, I can't tell you that I know the ins and outs of chalk ink. There are many out there now. I know that you can use this on many surfaces, including wood, leather, paper. I like it because of the colors, the different types of colors it comes in. And I'm going to show you an example. This is this blue. See how light that is and how subtle that is. Sometimes that's the perfect thing. This is a butterfly that I colored with my Copics. See, no bleeding. Can't do that with all inks. And that's the Memento ink. So I can imagine I've probably confused you even more. If you have any questions or comments or would like to know more about ink,